We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Close the damn door, man. You're letting all the Wi-Fi out. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Hold On. I'm Almost There, a show about life's little annoyances, personal growth, dad life, and so much more. Your hosts,
Tom the Blade,
and myself, Uncle Frank. So have a seat, do them chores, or twist a wrench while we dive down the rabbit hole. So we're changing it up this episode, and we're going to start off with talking about something very interesting. Tom brought this subject up a while back, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask Tom, how was your day today, man?
Busy, man. Busy. I mean, for about the past 6 weeks, it's been like one long continuous day that has never stopped. But, you know, hey, that's the way we talked about it a couple episodes. You know, the way that things are going now and all the busyness that I'm going through. It's last year I would have been wishing, right, to be in this position, to have all these things and doing these things that I enjoy doing. So as tiresome and as busy as I am and as much as I lack sleep, hey man, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So I'm loving what's going on. Yes, it's busy. Yes, it's hectic. Yes, I barely made it here in time to sit down and talk to you. But hey, I did. And we're here doing this. And this is something I love doing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Something last year I would not have been doing that I wish I would have been doing. So like I said, hey, I'm here now. I'm not going to complain about it, you know. So my day basically has been about 6 weeks of nonstop.
Your day has been 6 weeks of nonstop. I just slapped my microphone right out of my face.
I know.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I thought you got excited or something. I don't know.
It's crazy. Yeah, man, today's just been nuts. Oh my goodness. Work has been crazy. I've been having to travel out more to different facilities to help out and take on some new responsibilities, looking at those types of things and just trying to make sure that I stay on that high from Saturday when I woke up super early and went and worked out and tried to just keep going, keeping that motivation, keeping that momentum. So it's so crazy that you brought this up during the week about that movie that we're going to be talking about today. Right. It's called My Octopus Teacher, or My Teacher the Octopus.
No, My Octopus Teacher. Yes,
My Octopus Teacher. Yeah. So,
and some people might be familiar. It just won the Oscar, right, for Best Documentary. So it's kind of timely that we're talking about it.
So tell us what made you watch this documentary.
Well, okay, so it just so happens our good friend of the show, Erica, the winner of the Name That Tom Bracket Challenge, when we were trying to come up with a new nickname for myself, she had the Blade. Now, on hindsight, she should have had the number one draft pick of all time. That should have been the name, right? The name. But anyway, she came in. We worked. And I failed to mention, we worked together at a side job. We work at the same side job together. So she came in one morning raving about a movie she had seen, how wonderful it was. It was so emotional. It was moving. It got her emotional at the end. She loved it. She'd already seen it a couple of times. And I said, well, what did you watch? You know, what was the show you watched? And she said, it's a documentary called My Octopus Teacher. Well, the ironic thing is the Oscars had just happened. And I didn't watch the Oscars, but I go in and out of the den as I'm walking around doing stuff in the kitchen. And it just so happened when I was in the kitchen, they presented that award for Best Documentary. And lo and behold, I saw them giving their speech. I saw them, accepting the award. So as soon as she said My Octopus Teacher, I knew what she was talking about. So she kept going on and on about it, and she just insisted I had to see it. So of course, what did I do when I was working one of those shifts at 2 a.m? I said, well, you know what? Let me check it out. So I started watching this movie, and it's a very good. It's very entertaining. It's a guy that goes out every day. He sees this same octopus, builds a friendship with this octopus, and he basically documents it. And it may sound boring to you, but when you're watching it and you see the progression of this friendship, it's very entertaining. It captivates you. She was right. Of course, there's a moment, which why we're having this episode, that I got, and anybody who knows me in my history of movies, I got angry and irate, and I wanted to storm out of my own, storm out screaming and yelling about what's wrong with this guy. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's what brought it to my attention. That's what I brought it to your attention. And that's why we're here today, and we're going to talk about this guy.
Yeah. So I watched it over 2 days because watching it after the kids go to bed, because I didn't know what to expect. And it turns out it's a movie that's rated G. So if you want to watch it with your kids, sit down and watch it with your kids. It is actually incredibly entertaining to sit and think about what this guy did, because the documentary spans over, what was it, 317 days, I believe?
Yeah, over a year.
No. It was right under a year, I thought.
Well, okay. I'm saying that because he said the octopus lifespan is about a year, and the octopus obviously was already alive. So yeah, I mean, his span of time with the octopus was less than a year. But it was 100 and something days.
No, it was like 300 and something days.
Something like about a year.
So in the very beginning, this guy talks about being incredibly burned out of his job. Right. He's just like, I'm so burned out, because his job essentially is to go out and film documentaries.
Right.
And, that was his passion. Him and his brother had gone to multiple places and just followed these people that were trackers, so they could
in the Kalahari.
Yeah, in the Kalahari, to document these wild animals and stuff like that. So he came across these incredibly interesting people, and he picked up some of their techniques and learned from them. But ultimately, his deal was that he got burned out. And me and Tom were, it was like Tom had told me that him and one of his buddies at I think it was the fire station or somewhere, you had a discussion with this person and you were so upset. I was like, oh my goodness. So the entire time I'm watching the show, I'm trying to think, what made Tom so upset at this guy? Like, I'm watching this show.
I think it was Erica. Me and Erica.
Oh, was it Erica? Okay. Yeah, I was just like, man, what could have jarred Tom to the point where he's having these discussions with somebody? I've got to watch this thing. I watched it, and the whole time I'm just like, this is pretty incredible, because he talks about how getting back into the water reminded him of his childhood. It actually, building the relationship with the octopus actually, in a way, helped him become a better father. There were so many things that this guy learned from the experience, but my takeaways were, okay, this guy decided that he was going to jump into the water, and it just so happens that he found an octopus. And like we had said, over the course of a year, he had developed this relationship with the octopus. At times, the relationship seemed really strong, because the octopus would actually let him hold her, as he said, and they would just hang out. This guy's snorkeling too. The fact that he could go so deep in the water on a single air of breath. Man, that was something else. There was a lot. There was a lot to it.
Yes. But let's back it up. So he had done these documentaries. Apparently, he had gained some acclaim for his documentaries and had not done it for about 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So he had left where he had grown up right there on the southern tip of Africa, right there on the beach, and he kind of missed it, and he'd gotten away from it. And then he stated that he could no longer deal with the pressure of editing and the cameras. Those are his words that he used. So just like in the discussion we talked about before, he's miserable. He can't stand it. He can't take his life anymore. He's just living this horrible existence. He can't deal with this editing and the cameras. And he's miserable with his life on the beach, swimming in the ocean every day. So it's like we have to sometimes prioritize and take a look. And what I've always said, don't think about the things you don't have. Think about the things you do have. This man is living in existence. And we talked about it earlier when you asked me how my day was. I work over 100 hours a week every week, sometimes 72 hours up straight, just so I can get to his miserable existence, right? I want to live on the beach and go swimming every day and becomes buddies with an octopus. So he mentioned that his great purpose in life, which was making these documentaries, had fallen to pieces, right? And then he mentioned, and I'm also a father. So this is one of the things that really clued me into this guy. He had his priorities mixed up, right? My great purpose in life is raising my kids and my family and showing them, right from wrong and things like that. My job is just my job, right? It's basically my hobby and an extension of my personality and what I enjoy doing. But my great purpose in life would not have been making documentaries. It might be something I enjoy doing, something I love doing, something I have a passion for. But nothing is going to come before me and raising my kids and my family. So that was one of the things that I said. But the one thing he did do, and the one thing that I'm always saying here, and I'm saying in the Motivational Monday episodes, is how did he fix it? He didn't sit around thinking about it, planning about it, being sad about it anymore. The way he ended up fixing his problems and what he was going through, he actually did something. He took action, and his action was getting into the ocean, going back to what he knew, going back to what he used to do, the actions he used to take when he was younger and was happy. And he got in the ocean, got moving, started actually doing something physical, right? And that's where he started to find his release and starting to find some enjoyment again. And that's one of the things that I clued in with this guy.
So, yeah, he did do all that. And
I don't want to I don't want to sound like I'm painting this guy out to be a bad guy, right? He's not a bad guy.
No, yeah,
right,
no.
Right,
but
right.
To me, like it was the fact that he kind of, I don't think he said that he hit rock bottom per se, but he hit such a low point in his life that he was just like, what do I do now?
Well, he said his great purpose in life was in pieces.
Right.
And then he said, and I also have a son, and I cannot be a good son to my father because of that. Because the pressures of editing and a camera had worn him down. Okay.
I mean, if you're worn down, I mean, burnout for him, hours and hours of traveling, hauling around that equipment. We think about this and we say, oh yeah, he's filming and editing. That can't be that hard. But the reality is we will never know, because that is not in our path right now. We have no idea what it takes to do.
I do know this, and we talked about this earlier, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. That's not a life and death situation. I don't care how he tries to paint it, editing and camera work. I actually deal in life and death situations. I've been doing that for 25 years. And I have had to go with younger guys and tell them how to avoid the burnout, right? Because that is a legitimate burnout when you're seeing people die in your arms every day, several times a day, right? And getting blamed by the family that it's your fault, your ineptitude, when it wasn't. You know, they just need somebody to blame. So that burnout is real. So I can tell you for a fact that,
for sure,
you know, I've never edited, I've never looked around a camera. Well, but I have been in that other situation.
We said that he was over there in the Kalahari Desert, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's all kinds of pirates, people. You know, there's so much going on. We have no idea, but let's agree to disagree on the fact that his burnout to him was incredibly real, right? I'll never know your burnout.
Right.
I'll never know the stresses of your work.
And again, that's why we're having this episode, because we
Right,
do
right.
disagree. Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why we're having this type
absolutely.
of episode. Right.
And as I was watching it, I was like, I'm glad that he realized that he was a broken individual at the time, and he was not able to be a good father to his son. He realized that. Sometimes for some people, they never realize that.
That
they
is
feel
very
like
true. Yes.
what they're doing is exactly what they should be doing, and let the cards fall where they may. But he was able to stay mindful of the fact that,
Yes.
hey, if I'm not feeling good, then I cannot be what my family needs.
Correct. And he did something about it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He went out and he made an attempt to fix it. And along the way, he discovered this other being,
Right.
and they created a bond.
Right. So all that setup was to get to the actual point of the documentary and showing his friendship with this octopus. Yeah.
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was, at the very end of the documentary, it showed him having the most fun. And he said he was having the most fun with his son after the fact.
Yes.
So everything he learned, everything he experienced throughout that year, change is not easy.
Right.
It takes time. And that was my biggest takeaway from that documentary. Change does not happen overnight.
No.
And for him to be able to document and stay with it, because man, did he stay with it.
He stayed with it.
Holy
Yes.
moly. There was a point in time where he had scared the octopus away.
Correct.
And he had to fall back on what he had learned in his younger days, working with those folks that track animals, basically hunting down this octopus, a creature that its whole identity is to stay hidden.
That's his hope. Yes.
That in itself right there. God,
Right,
that's self-discovery too.
Right. Now, we've talked about the man. Let's talk about this octopus. How amazing was this creature? That we talk about, how the octopus's whole point is every day it has to be mindful of hiding, right? In all the different ways it could hide, the way it could change its color, its shape, the way it tried to mimic the moss as it walked. When it would grab those rocks and it covered itself and looked like a big rock.
Yes.
These octopus, and this is one of the things, and you mentioned earlier about it being rated G and watching it with you should watch this with your kids so they can see. I'm not, I don't know when the chance I'm going to get to go swimming underwater and see an octopus in action or take my kids, but you can sit down, watch this documentary, see these animals and the way they behave, the way they learn, the way they develop a trust to a person, right? It was incredible. It was when we joke about and say that this man had this octopus that was his pet, that octopus, I don't care how you look at it, was his pet.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. You cannot deny it. Once you've watched this documentary, the interaction between the two, there was definite recognition on that octopus's part to that man. And when you brought up about him tracking the octopus down, when he tracked the octopus down, the octopus immediately recognized him and acknowledged him and came out to meet him.
Yes. And you were saying about that. Now, was the octopus his pet, or was the octopus, knowing that the human was not going to hurt him, learned how to use the human as a tool?
I don't think so.
This is how smart that thing was to me.
Oh, he did at times do that. Yes.
Right.
But I don't think that was his sole purpose for the man.
You don't think so?
No, because the interactions they had, that was one interaction. That was one time we saw him do that, or saw her do that. They said it was a female octopus. But the rest of the time, no, he reached out, he touched the man on his face. He went up there riding with him, as he swam to the top.
Well, all these are tests to make sure that it wasn't going to hurt him. But so So they cornered the lobster.
I don't see that at all. No.
They cornered the lobster. They cornered the crab. What else?
It's a smart octopus. It's a smart creature.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He was using, or she was using the guy as a tool. She learned how to adapt to him and not just have him as a visitor. Granted, they were friends, I'm sure, on the octopus side as well. But with all things in friendship, you make friends with someone for a purpose. They make you feel great. They push you. They have something that you don't. They have this personality that you don't have. They have tools that you don't have. They have motivating factors that you don't have. And you have to, and I'm not trying to make this sound like a bad thing, but you have to also appreciate your friends and use their resources, use their motivations, use things to help you push yourself, because a really good friend is going to help you and push you. And
so would you say this octopus was his friend?
Yes, but I'm saying that too, this octopus learned how to utilize his friend to.
Well, have you ever asked your friend to help you move your furniture?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's all. It doesn't mean he was using. The octopus was a user.
No, and that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. The octopus wasn't just using that guy, but he learned, or she learned how to use.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we were clued in to how smart the octopus, and shouldn't be amazed that the octopus would do that from the very beginning when he left the camera on the seafloor. And the octopus saw the camera and approached the camera. And do you remember how she approached it, Frank?
No, I
she had a big shell, and she used the shell like a shield.
As a shield, yeah.
And she moved up almost like, Captain America style with that shield in front of her in case the camera tried to pull something.
Yeah.
That octopus was incredibly smart, learned very quickly. And like I said, I said the octopus was definitely at least his pet. It was at least his pet. To me, they developed a friendship.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes, I think it was beyond just a pet. It was a friendship. Mm-hmm. It was definitely a friendship.
And this wasn't like an action adventure documentary or anything like that. But in watching it, you begin to think to yourself, what is it that I have to offer someone? And what is it that the people around me are helping me with, or how are the people that I surround myself with? Is it symbiotic, or is it what's the opposite of a symbiosis? Like a amoeba, right? Are they just leeches that are kind of sucking your will from you, or are they real friends that want to help you be better, right?
Okay.
And so both of them really learned from each other. This guy was struggling with things. In the end, he came out a better person.
Okay.
And the
what do you
living as an octopus,
Right. Yeah. What do you think the octopus learned from him? I don't see that the octopus learned from him. Maybe it learned trust.
Right. Well, that part that they showed where the octopus was playing with the fish. Now, I don't know if octopus do that on a normal, like if that's a normal thing, but it played with that school of fish when it could clearly have eaten those things, and maybe that was what the octopus learned. Hey, we don't all have to be predators. I can make these new friendships with other creatures of the sea. I don't know.
I think that's reading too much into.
You think so?
Because we don't know when that happened.
Right.
That was just a recollection he had of seeing the octopus.
Asked me what I thought. That was where I went with it. And yeah, I do overthink things a lot. I love to let my imagination run crazy with things.
Okay.
Just because I'm a silly person. I love to think about the impossible and the unimaginable to most, because I love to daydream. That is one of my favorite things to do, is to daydream about the what ifs. There's so many what ifs that the documentary, the guy that did the documentary, also the producer that was helping him document the film, right? She was out there with him, helping him film this. You never see that. You don't realize that there was two people down there with this octopus.
Yes.
Right?
Which, and we'll get to that also in a minute. So we had the octopus, we had the man, and then we had the villains in this story, right? These sharks, right? These little sharks. Now, people might be out there that obviously have not seen this documentary. I think this octopus is like this big octopus you see on the floor. No, the octopus was maybe a foot long, foot and a half.
Oh, I thought it was like 3 feet long because it looked pretty big.
Maybe if it spread out its tentacles far enough, yes. But it was not some giant monster.
The octopus.
It was,
correct. I thought you were talking about the shark. Yeah,
no, the octopus was
like
little.
A foot long. Oh yeah,
he was little.
Tiny.
She was little.
It was
and so the sharks weren't that much bigger than the octopus.
Well, when
they weren't 8 foot long.
No,
right.
they
were 3 foot, maybe 2.5.
That's pretty big for a shark.
They're called. Oh man. Okay. So these are called pajama sharks, right? Okay. And as soon as you see this pajama shark, he just looks like a bad guy. Like as soon as you see him, right? His eyes, he had these stripes, like he's like in prison gear, right? Mm-hmm. He's got like these black and white stripes.
I'm surprised they didn't start playing bad guy music whenever.
And you would have been totally believable. I mean, this shark, as soon as you see him, you knew he was up to no good.
Oh
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that we'll call him the villain. So this is going to set up, and this is why we're having this discussion. At least I am, and this is what brought me the anger out of me when I saw this. What happened? So he's documenting this octopus, right? And he's watching the octopus, and the octopus is just out, and the octopus is out of its normal habitat of hiding in the crevices. The octopus is out in the open, and these sharks come. Mm-hmm. The natural predator of the octopus. The shark chases the octopus back to where the octopus normally is in hiding. And the shark, and spoiler alert, gets one of the octopus's arms while the man's there filming and ends up ripping the arm off and eating it. Mm-hmm. So this is where we get to our... I was irate that the man did not help the octopus.
I mean, you're right to an extent, because if they were true friends,
correct,
then they should have stayed to fight and should have, hey, shoo him away. You're here, help me.
Right.
And I think after that happened, that octopus was pretty upset at the man. What? I have to say.
Well, what did you mean?
Because I don't know if it was just recovering, but it went to its little den, and it didn't come out for a while. It didn't care that man showed up day after day. It was just like, I'm going to sit here and recuperate from this traumatic event.
And to be honest, we don't know if it even could have come out and played with I mean, he looked really traumatized. The octopus. I keep calling
octopus.
So I think it was just a matter of it physically could not really interact very much. It just had to recuperate. And what really, so I'm irate with this man already, right? That he did not help he did not help the octopus. But then, he said his first instinct was to scare the sharks away. That was his first instinct. What do we normally say about first instincts? What do we normally say?
It's the right one.
It's usually the correct one. Correct. So he knew that's what he should have done. And he goes on to say he couldn't help feeling he'd been responsible because she'd been out there because of him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm like, yes. I mean, what are you missing about this? But this is what really got me. He said now he felt very vulnerable that what had happened to her had happened to him as well. He said he felt psychologically like he was going through a type of dismembering.
I don't know, man. If that shark would have attacked him, I highly doubt that octopus would have came to his rescue either.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Well, that's true. We don't know that. But yeah, he's not growing back an arm or any appendage that he lost from a shark attack.
Correct.
But,
Because we have seen in nature where dolphins show up and help swimmers against sharks.
Yeah,
that does happen.
I'm
not saying the octopus is on the same level intellectually as a dolphin. Dolphins are very smart. But obviously, this octopus had some sense too, and maybe it would not. Maybe it would have been laughing. Maybe the guy done got on her nerves, and she's like, "You, this is what you got."
Yeah, that's what you get. You won't leave me alone. No, but that guy, I'm sure that guy was traumatized too. Being, maybe he froze and couldn't help. Right
now, do you remember his reasoning for not helping?
Well, yeah, because in filming nature, you're not supposed to interact with nature or stop nature from taking its course and stuff like that.
Right. But and my point to you was the minute he got there and developed this relationship with his octopus, it was no longer natural. It was no longer nature.
Yeah.
We didn't see other swimmers out there visiting with other octopuses, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't see those sharks hanging out with some thugs or some bad guys on the street corner smoking cigarettes, right? We didn't see that. This is not natural. I don't have an octopus buddy, right? Do you? I mean, maybe you do.
No.
So his whole point, when he's there interacting with them, he's already thrown everything out of whack. Maybe there are bigger hierarchy predators out there that are not coming around now to attack this octopus because he's there. Maybe some of the food that the octopus eats is not showing up because he's there in the way, and not meaning to do these things, right? So his argument that he didn't want to disturb and that he couldn't disturb the course of nature. Well, we've already discussed this octopus is absolutely his friend, right?
Right.
And it is natural for you to help your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, in my opinion, it was unnatural for him to not help that octopus. He should have helped his friend because that's what we do, right?
Yeah. And kind of to play devil's advocate here, the guy had been trained to film wildlife, right?
And I'm glad you said that because yes, I do think that's what happened. I think he fell back on his first instinct, which he had always been trained, like you said, to just stay out of the way, right? And I think that's what he did. That's what he fell back on. And I'm glad you brought that point up because I do think that's what happened.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's why he felt so much remorse and so much regret.
Yeah, and like we said, how traumatized was he to watch his friend basically have a limb removed, but also too, man, I was gonna say something about his reaction to when the octopus had found a mate. Like
he seemed like he got his feelings hurt, right?
Yes, like he was jealous. I was like, dang, this dude really is friends with, basically took his friend away because she found a mate.
Right.
And, after that, it got kind of weird, She didn't leave her den and he kept swinging by her house, like checking on her.
Texting her.
Hey, girl, what you doing?
She was leaving it. What do they say? Left on red? When you check your text, it says left on red because, they read it, but they didn't answer.
Oh, yeah, I'd never heard that before.
But listen, let's get back before I forget about the shark attacks.
Oh, okay.
So he went through this whole traumatic ordeal and why he did, why he didn't, should he have? He was being psychologically dismembered. But what happened not too much later? The shark attacked again.
Oh yeah, the shark came back.
Again, he didn't help, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the octopus had to fend for herself, and that's when she covered up herself for a rock. And look how smart she was. She got on the shark's back.
Yeah,
where he could not get her.
Mm-hmm. And the shark just gave up. He's like, oh, hell no, you ain't going to ride me like this. Nope. And he just, what did he do? He he swam underneath something and it kind of knocked her off, right? But yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, she really adapted quickly when that shark came by the second time because she got wrapped up in some coral and made a taco out of herself to where the shark couldn't see her, but he could smell her. And after that, she was able to dart away.
Right.
And then, like you said, she had made herself look like this clump of rocks by, grabbing all these shells on the floor and like making a ball. And, and it was very hard for that shark to attack her that way because you had all these sharp shells,
right?
And the shark could not take a bite.
But but like we said, she was trying to hide, and she's in that. Remember, she was in those seaweed. Yeah, because you said the shark. He was having a hard time seeing her. But this is what's killing me. She's trying to hide. She's truly fleeing for her life, and the man's there with the camera right up next to her. If the shark had any sense, he's gonna go where the man is, because the man will leave the octopus.
I didn't even think about that. She's
like, probably like cussing him under her breath, like, get away, get out of here. I'm trying to hide from this shark.
Right. My boyfriend's back. He's trying to kill me. Here you are, leading him to where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about that as I was watching it. I was just like, oh, well, I'm watching a documentary about this octopus getting away. But no, some friend he is. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Man.
Oh my goodness. But that octopus, it truly was amazing how smart she was and how quickly she adapted, and it was, and then at the end, as she finally, she lived out her lifespan and she had those octopus babies. I mean, how many did they say like thousands of these things?
Yeah.
Because only a couple survived, but man, that was crazy.
Handful survived.
Only a handful, yes. Yeah. And at the end, I don't know really, as you're seeing those fishes, eat on her, I felt really bad for the octopus. And he was tormented on whether or not he should do something with her, bury her. Me personally, I would have grabbed her and gone and buried her somewhere, maybe try to dig a hole in the sand and bury her. But because that really, like we said, you see these sharks, you don't like them, right?
Automatically.
They're like jerks, right?
Yeah.
And then to see that shark come at the end and grab her, and I was like,
I was kind of mad at that when I saw it. I was like, you can't help it. Man. All this time she's trying to get away from me. Finally got her.
I just don't think if I was that man, I could have watched that shark take my buddy like that. Oh man, that was just something.
But I think by that time he had known, it's like, okay, well, she's not my friend anymore. A, because she shacked up with that other octopus.
Yes.
Kid. And then B, this really is nature.
Right. I think he had chosen that path and he was going to stick to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't fault him for that.
Circle of life, right?
Right.
The
other creatures have to eat too.
Yeah. Right. And that was sad. I ain't gonna lie. When I saw her body rolling, I was thinking to myself too. I was like, well, he had mentioned that after they have babies, they're so worn down because they can't go anywhere their entire pregnancy. And she ate as much as she could, but then when she got pregnant or whatever, that was it. You just can't move from that little cubby that she was in. And I forgot how long they said, a couple weeks, right? That she stayed in there, and
I wish I had wrote it down. I don't remember. Yeah, but he basically insinuated she was just barely holding on in order to give the birth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you could see that. I mean, she couldn't get her.
Yeah, the current was moving her around. She had almost zero function in her tentacles.
Yes.
Yeah, it was crazy. But those things are so graceful to watch swim. And, all the footage that they had of the seaweed that she would swim in through, and just the movements that those things make whenever they're swimming. It looked really cool.
That, the camouflage abilities, the intellect. When she jumped out of the water onto that rock, when the shark almost had her. Yeah, I mean that little octopus had, like, she wasn't going to quit. She was going to figure out a way to get away from that shark, and she did. I mean, that was.
And then here he goes.
Here he comes with his.
Her, and there comes the shark right back up. I was like, oh well, see the man. There's the octopus. Here's my meal.
Yes, but it was a great documentary, and I recommend anybody to watch it. I think anybody would be entertained, and it's you hate to say it's riveting, that it's this guy and this doctor, but it is riveting. You're waiting to see what's going to happen. You're waiting to see if she's going to recover from the shark attack, and then you want to see it all the way to the end. And it was great, and I'm glad. Thank you, Erica, for insisting that I watch it.
And the show is on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. You can tune, after you get through listening to our show, fire it up, check it out, and let us know what you think on Twitter. Should he have helped the octopus or not? Should he have, forced those sharks away? Would you have helped basically what I'm asking you people is, would you have helped your friend in need?
Would you have helped your friend? Yes. In a time of need, do you help your friend or do you just watch it go down?
Yeah, twice.
Why? Yeah. Well, I mean, 3 or 4 times really, because at the very end, he didn't help her or anything. He's just like, oh, well, you decided to go with that other guy, so I'm going to let you die.
We've already got some other votes on Twitter from some other octopuses. They said they definitely would have helped. The sharks are chiming in and saying no.
Oh my God. Nope. We would have eaten them. Yeah, the pajama sharks. Jailhouse shark, pajama guy.
And as I'm watching this show, and it started taking me back to a certain story I have with my son. This goes back many years, probably about 20 years ago. As everyone knows, I'm in the fire department, and there's a tradition in the fire department that once you get promoted, you have to feed everyone. And the big ticket item, the one that you kind of trying to be fancy and everything, is to get steak and shrimp. So, you find a place to get you some, a good deal on steaks. Well, the best place to go get deals on shrimp around here in Houston is to go to Kima, right? Mm-hmm. You buy a bunch of it. It's pretty cheap. You go take an ice chest, fill it up, and you've got it, because I've got to feed like 14 people, 14 firemen. They don't have small appetites. They're like that shark, right? They don't stop. They keep coming. Yep. So me and my son was very young at the time. He was like 2-3 years old. So he's in the back of the truck. We take a little road trip to Kima. I'm going to go get all this shrimp. So we're there, and as you're walking around, they have every type of sea creature in there, right, that they're selling. They had these octopuses, right?
Oh, wow.
Yes, the little ones, like the one in the movie. Just, kind of like some of them would be alive swimming around. They had another one. They were iced down they look like big bathtubs. My son, he became insistent that he wanted one of those octopuses as an actual pet.
Oh, wow.
He was like that, man. He wanted this octopus. I could not get him to come off of it. I'm like, what are we going to do with this octopus? What do you think we're going to do? And his, he wanted to keep it in the bathtub, just like they had it there in Kima. And oh my God, fighting with my son, trying to hold him, trying to pull this ice chest of shrimp. Oh my God. As he's fighting, he wanted that octopus so bad. And watching this documentary and thinking about that time and how it was so funny to me, because my son, he doesn't get upset. He doesn't get real emotional about stuff. So to see him at that time when he got so emotional because I wouldn't buy him this big slimy octopus, I was like, oh my God. And I almost thought, let me just buy it and throw it in the tub and let my wife see it. Right.
Yeah. It would have been like the squirrel story all over again.
My wife deal with telling him no, I couldn't think. I didn't relish the thought of having that octopus in the middle of the summer in my truck and the smell, I was like, oh no.
Oh yeah, that would have been real bad. Oh.
But anyway, anybody who wants to check out that movie, check it out. It's a great documentary. It's not that long, right? It's only about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not even an hour and a half.
Not even that long. Yeah.
Hour 15.
Yeah. So, and like I said, it won the Oscar for best documentary. So I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. Watch it with your kid. Talk to them about some of the things we've talked about. See what they think. Everybody's entitled to my opinion's not right. Frank's opinion is obviously not right.
Certainly never ever right.
But yeah, it's one of those things you can talk about. What would you do? And it's one of those things where it brings up some really important questions and great things to think about. If you were in that situation, I joke about it. None of us are right, because you never know what you're going to do until you are in that situation.
Yeah,
and
that's for sure.
and it was just really interesting. And I'm thankful to the guy, to the filmmakers for making this and enlightening us to that, that sea life that's out there, man. It's like, man, it really did change my opinion on some of the things that are out there,
Yeah, the level of intelligence of an octopus too, to see it in its own habitat and go through that. Yeah, that was it is a game changer for sure, and give yourself some time for introspection too,
And I'll tell you, one of the coolest things in that documentary was when he went out at night. Remember when he went out at night and you could hear those whales.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was creepy, but it was like one of the most coolest things. I'm like, can you imagine being underwater? It's dark, there's no light, and you can hear the sound of those whales coming through the water.
Oh, thank you.
Man. That was crazy, man. I was like, man, that was really something.
Those pajama sharks cousins are coming out.
Yeah.
You're gonna be missing a limb.
Their big cousins are live out there around the south tip of Africa. So their big bully brothers are coming. So
yeah, no,
he would get his arm taken off by.
Yeah, guarantee you he'd be traumatized for a while too. Shoot, man. All right, man, that was a pretty good discussion. I liked it. I appreciate you telling me about that movie too. Yeah. It was crazy watching the movie, trying to guess why you were so upset. I will say that. Why the hell was Tom so mad? Well, that he's having words with people at work. That was all I could think the whole time. What the hell could have caused Tom to get so upset? And I
think I called him one of the greatest villains in cinematic history.
Yeah. I was just like, man, okay. But now after talking to you a little bit more about it, I do understand. It was all about what would you do if your friend was in trouble? If you really think this thing was your friend and you didn't do nothing to help it out, then you're lying to yourself. You're not really friends. You're just watching from a distance.
Yes. But rest in peace to the little octopus.
I wish you would have named her. That would have been cool.
Okay, it's ironic you brought that up. Originally, when I first saw the documentary, I could find the name of that octopus on the.
Oh, really?
Right, and of course I didn't write it down. So last night in my research, I said, you know what? I want to get the name of that octopus so we can mention it on the show. And I went, and maybe it's been redacted. I don't know, but now it says that the man never named the octopus because he felt like he would be infringing upon the octopus's.
Oh my god! Get out of here!
But I originally found a name and I mentioned it to Erica because I was at work when I looked it up because I'm one of those people. Once I watch a movie or documentary that really intrigues me, I got to know everything about it, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously, I wanted to know the name of the octopus, and there was one, But now it's I don't know, maybe maybe somebody just made one up and had put it on Wikipedia and it's been corrected. I don't know, but yes.
His family got mad. They're
suing copyright infringement. Yeah,
they don't want you to know her den, so you don't.
But if anybody does find it, let us know on Twitter. I'm dying.
Yeah, that'd be cool
to recall what the name was. And the octopus should have its name out there. We should know who that octopus was. I really like that octopus.
Oh man, yeah,
octopus. I would have helped you, octopus. I definitely would have helped you.
You would have punched the shark in the nose. Get out of here, shark! You don't belong here.
Exactly.
That'd have been messed up though. You punch that shark in the face and then its cousins show.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
We have a problem here. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we're gonna end it on the upswing there with a good laugh. Go out there, check out this documentary. It is called My Octopus Teacher. My Octopus Teacher. Sorry. My Octopus Teacher. It's on Netflix. Tell us what you think about it. Shoot us.
Let us know what you would have done, if you would have helped the octopus or not. Right. And if you find out the octopus's name, let us know.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you find the octopus's name, let us know. I'm going to say that octopus to me looked like maybe a Sheila or a Chauncey. What do you think? What do you think the octopus's name was?
Grabby.
Grabby. Ah!
Grabby with a G. Because he had all those suckers on his arm. Grabby.
Grabby with a G.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Grabby with the G. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. It has been a good conversation about this documentary. Hopefully we'll do another one. If you have any suggestions on documentaries we should watch, shoot them over to us on Twitter. I am Paula Nikes and at Fat Squeezle. Or we also have our Gmail account, which you can find in the show notes on your favorite podcast streaming application. So shoot us a line. Let us know. Have a great night.
Everybody stay sharp.